Hello all! Welcome to our first week of HRM 3210 Employee Training and Development. This week we're diving into two foundational chapters that will shape how you think about talent development in organizations. Before we dive into content, I want to highlight the importance of connection. Please take a moment to visit the course introduction discussion board. I've shared a little bit about myself there, and I'd love to learn more about you as well. I also shared a fun fact that would be kind of fun and exciting to learn something different than just our personal titles and who we are on the online community. And I would love for you to share one as well so we can find ways to relate to one another and learn about each other beyond just the discussion boards. Building a collaborative learning environment and community will make this course much more engaging and rewarding, as we will learn much more from each other than we will just from being within our textbook or our assignments. In this course, you'll develop a strong foundation in employee training and development. Some of our key objectives include the importance of training and development, which is understanding why training and development programs are essential to organizational success. The steps in a training program. You'll learn the key phases of designing and implementing a training program. Applying training and development methods. You'll gain insight into various delivery methods, such as instruction, e-learning, coaching, and blended classrooms. Researching programs through a responsible lens, you'll examine how training programs can promote equity, inclusion, and ethical practices. Developing a training and development program. This is where you'll learn how to apply what you've learned to design a comprehensive program tailored to organizational needs. Let's start with a critical distinction that often gets misaligned with the difference between training and development. Training focuses on enhancing performance in your current role. Think of onboarding programs, software tutorials, or safety certifications. Development prepares you for future opportunities using leadership programs, mentorship, or cross-functional projects that build broader capabilities. Training is defined as a planned, systematic effort to help employees learn job-related competencies, including knowledge, skills, and behaviors that are critical for successful job performance. In Chapter 1, we will have an introduction to training and development. Today's training landscape is dramatically different from even a decade ago. Several powerful forces are reshaping how organizations develop their people. The first one being globalization. Companies operate across borders, requiring training that addresses cross-cultural collaboration, global compliance standards, and distributed team dynamics. Your workforce may span continents, demanding cultural sensitivity learning objectives. Technological revolution. E-learning platforms, mobile apps, virtual reality simulations, and AI-powered personalization have transformed training delivery. Digital tools make learning more accessible, scalable, and engaging than traditional classroom methods alone. Demographics and diversity. Multi-generational workforces with varied learning preferences require inclusive training approaches. From baby boomers to Gen Z, each cohort brings different expectations about how, when, and where learning should happen. And then talent shortages. With critical skills gap emerging across industries, organizations can't simply hire their way to success. Upskilling current employees and reskilling workers for new roles has become a strategic imperative for business continuity. Customer service and quality. In competitive markets, consistent, exceptional customer services differentiate winners from losers. Training ensures every employee understands the quality standards and delivers the service excellence customers expect. Effective training doesn't happen by accident. It requires a structured, thoughtful approach that moves through distinct phases. Each phase builds on the previous one, creating a feedback loop that continuously improves training quality and business relevance. We'll explore each of these phases in greater depth throughout the course. The first step in the training design process is to conduct a needs assessment. This is where you identify performance gaps and determine when training can address critical business needs. Learning environment. This is creating conditions that facilitate effective learning and skill acquisition. Transfer of learning. Ensuring new skills are applied back on the job where they matter. Evaluation plans. Measuring training effectiveness and business impact. And finally, continuous improvement. monitoring results and refining programs based on data and feedback. A practical example of when you look at the design process for a training need. The situation is that a mid-sized logistics company faced a critical operational problem, high error rates in their order fulfillment process. Mistakes were costing money, frustrating employees, and damaging the company's reputation. Employees felt overwhelmed by complex systems and unclear procedures. What the solution looked like is that HR partnered with operations to design targeted training focused on two key areas: process accuracy and system navigation. The training combined hands-on practice, clear visual guides, and role-specific scenarios. They reflected real daily challenges that employees encountered. Once they developed this training, they had a really positive outcome after each employee participated. They saw a dramatic decrease in fulfillment mistakes within 3 months of training implementation. And post-training surveys showed significant increases in employee confidence and job satisfaction. And one of the most important pieces, which is the outcome that they were looking to find, was to have annual savings from reduced errors and returns, as well as customer service issues significantly reduced. Now notice how this initiative addressed multiple outcomes simultaneously. The company improved operational metrics, but equally important, employees gained clearer role expectations and felt more competent in their work. This dual focus on business results and employee experience is the hallmark of effective training programs. And this example illustrates a fundamental truth. Well-designed training doesn't just teach skills, it transforms performance, improves morale, and delivers tangible results. When employees understand their roles clearly and have the competencies to excel, everyone wins. Let's jump into Chapter 2, Strategic Training. Now, what makes training strategic? Strategic training goes beyond simply teaching skills. It aligns learning initiatives directly with organizational strategy and business goals. Instead of offering generic programs, strategic training asks the questions: what capabilities do we need to achieve to enhance our mission, vision, and competitive positioning? This alignment ensures training investments deliver measurable returns. Whether your organization pursues growth, innovation, cost leadership, or quality differentiation, strategic training builds the workforce capabilities needed to execute that strategy successfully. The steps include: number 1, identifying organizational strategy. This is where you understand whether the business focuses on growth, innovation, cost leadership, quality, or another strategic priority. The second step is to determine strategic training needs. This is where you assess what competencies, skills, and knowledge gaps must be addressed to support that chosen vision. Number 3 is choose appropriate training methods. This is where you will select delivery approaches, such as whether it's going to be classroom, online, blended learning, coaching, or mentoring that fit the content and the audience. Then the final piece of strategic training is evaluating the training outcomes. Measuring results using return on investment analysis, or ROI, performance metrics, retention rates, and other relevant KPIs that demonstrate business impact. The most critical part about any level of training is that training succeeds or fails based on leadership commitment. If the leaders are not involved and they're not championing the training as a strategic priority and not administrative function, then it will be very successful. When leaders actively support learning initiatives, training gains visibility. It secures adequate funding, and it integrates seamlessly with the broader business operations. The most important piece is business alignment. When training programs directly support strategic objectives and create measurable business value, then the leaders can be on board. And then, as an HR professional, it's your role to determine the metrics and the accountabilities. By having clear KPIs to track training effectiveness and demonstrate ROI to stakeholders, you show that you're not just facilitating a training, but that you're a partner to the organization. And then agility and innovation. Learning programs adapt quickly to changing business needs and market conditions are the most effective. When you're stale and outdated, then the learners themselves know that there's not a lot of trust or credibility within the content that's being delivered. And the final piece is talent development. When you have a really strong training program, there's a systematic approach that builds leadership pipelines and critical capabilities for the future so that you are matching the need for the skills gap analysis. Now, there are barriers that will come up, and overcoming these barriers is what is the role of a really strong HR partner. Even with good intentions, organizations face common obstacles when implementing strategic training. And being aware of these barriers help you proactively address them in the moment. The first one being unclear goals. When there's a lack of specific objectives or meaningful metrics, it makes it impossible to demonstrate training value or improve the programs. Resistance. Managers and employees may resist training due to time constraints, skepticism, or past negative experiences with poorly designed programs. Gaps. Poor communication between HR and business units or departments will result in training that doesn't address real operational needs or priorities. And then, of course, the number one thing that always comes up for any HR professional is resource constraints. This is where you have inadequate budgets, outdated technology, or insufficient staff limits, which can really affect the training quality and the reach that you want to achieve. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example. A financial services firm recognized that digital transformation wasn't just an option, it was survival. They needed employees skilled in data analytics and cybersecurity to compete effectively and protect client assets. However, they realized that most staff lacked these critical competencies. Rather than simply offering a generic training, the firm designed a comprehensive strategic training initiative explicitly tied to business KPIs. They identified which roles needed which skill, created role-specific learning paths, and measured success against operational metrics like risk exposure and client retention. The first outcome by doing this was safety. They had a reduction in security incidents and risk exposure. And then the second thing was client care. They had improvement in data-driven client insights and recommendations. And the third was efficiency. The increase in operational efficiency through process automation made a huge difference. Now that we've reviewed your first week overview, here's what you need to focus on this week to be successful. First, introduce yourself in the discussion board. Review the syllabus. Complete your week 1 discussion question and 2 responses on different days. And then walk through your SmartBook chapters 1 and 2. Submit your learning unit project and your quiz by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pacing yourself across the week will make the workload much easier to manage. Now, this is just the beginning of our journey into employee training and development, and I look forward to being along this journey with you over the next 5 weeks. As we move forward, we'll continue connecting theory with real-world examples so you can see how these concepts apply in practice. I look forward to learning with you and seeing how you bring these ideas into your own perspective on HR. If you have any questions, feel free to use the general Q&A discussion posts. If you have any personal matters, please email or call me directly. And then a friendly reminder, I'll be completing all of your grading on Monday, and then your midterm feedback will begin in week 3. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you, everyone.